There was a 68% increase in monthly intimacy and fewer side effects than with Viagra. In other words, it's going to help you with your blood flow.
It helps with that ED. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Brewer Report. Today, we are going to talk about a very popular fruit, which is watermelon. Yes, I love watermelon. It's a great, refreshing fruit. It supports a lot of things, too. We're going to talk a lot about that. I mean, it has a ton of antioxidants, like lycopene, which is a antioxidant that we have mentioned before, particularly when it comes to tomatoes and tomato paste. Remember that episode? You can go back to our playlist if you want to hear about it there. But today we're going to talk about lycopene and how it relates to watermelon. And we're going to talk about nitric oxide that helps with your blood circulation. My dad is going to talk further on that. And also, watermelon may help with athletes in terms of recovery, or even if you're not an athlete, if you're just someone who works out, watermelon may help with your recovery after a good workout. And we're going to talk about how maybe watermelon may help some couples in their intimate moments, if you will. Forget about those chocolate covered strawberries, get some watermelon in the play. And so just overall, watermelon is indeed a superfood is what people are saying. Who knew? Watermelon, yes, a superfood. And now we're about to get deep into it. So let's get started. Let's talk about more of this nutritional profile of watermelon. So what is your take, Daddy?
Watermelon is number one. It's also high in fiber. Um, they did a study with children and adolescents, and they found out that children and adolescents who ate watermelon basically had better nerve function, brain development, because it has choline, which is good for muscle mobility. We're going to talk more about muscles and liver function. It has copper, which is good for a utilization of iron, which is really critical for women because you need to absorb more iron,
That's
especially during your
important for me.
menses.
Yeah.
It's also good for health of your hair, magnesium, bone health, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, premenstrual syndrome, improved sleep quality, potassium, which allows your muscles to contract, lowers your risk of heart disease. So we're going to talk more and more about that. But it also has lutein and zeaxanthin, which is and beta carotene, which are good for your eyes. And of course, lutein and zeaxanthin are good for your brain health as well. And we'll get more into the lycopene.
Yeah, so that's good. So watermelon could be good for the skin, could be good for the hair. It's just uh, pretty much a very powerful slice, if you will, once you start eating your watermelon. So let's get into that deep dive. I know that watermelon is 90% water. So maybe that's why I'm even shocked at how much of a superfood it is. Cause I don't know. I think most people just look at it like it's a great way to hydrate yourself, but it's so much more than that.
Yes, it is. And your Aunt Ruth ate watermelon every day of her life. I mean,
Yes.
of course, she lived to be 93. We
Yeah.
want to call her Ruth the watermelon woman. I mean, she used to eat so much watermelon. I ain't never seen nobody eat that much watermelon.
Yeah.
But she loved it.
I must have that trait.
But it's okay, let's get into some of the deeper stuff. Okay, so it has the antioxidant lycopene, which you already discussed. And that's the red watermelon. We're going to talk more about the different watermelons. There's a red and a yellow. We'll talk more about the yellow later. But obviously, the red watermelon has the lycopene. That's what the red is. Um, and we basically add, if when you add lycopene, it prevents cancer. Um, the other the other fact is that watermelon has citrulline, which is a amino acid that converts to L-arginine, which converts to nitric oxide. Hold that thought. Nitric oxide. That means you get more blood flow, you can exercise better. But what watermelon really does is something called delayed onset muscle soreness. So if you drink a watermelon drink or eat some watermelon prior to, preload is the key word, preload with a blended watermelon juice, and the day after you have less soreness. Now, but if you do it after you exercise, you don't have uh, uh, less soreness. In other words, you have to preload. We talk about preload all the time. We talked about preload during our weight loss.
So say that one more time. So say that one more time. So you're saying you get more of the benefit if you do it. Well, you're saying it preload, like you have to do it
You
prior.
have to eat it,
Okay.
drink it. Well, like for example, I just went and exercised. I went to my favorite spot, Planet Fitness, and guess what? I had me a watermelon drink, and I'll talk more about what I had in my watermelon drink. But I made myself a little watermelon drink. Okay,
Mhm.
so because I wanted to make sure that I was preloaded. So tomorrow, because I was doing some weights, tomorrow I won't be sore
And this is
because
particularly good
of
for
the
you because,
right,
as you
right,
said, as
because
you're
of the
getting
citrulline.
older, yeah, and as you're getting older, and you still want to be active and you still want to work out, this is good news that it could help with your muscle soreness.
Right. Now, when you talk about the citrulline, which is the thing for blood flow, yellow watermelon has 4 times more than red watermelon.
Wow.
So if if you can find yellow watermelon, you roll with it. Now you can also supplement. You can also buy citrulline as a supplement. Now, so the natural question is, if citrulline is this precursor to L-arginine and nitric oxide, why don't I just buy the L-arginine supplement, which is available, and that's one step closer to the blood flow for nitric oxide. But as it turns out, it's not, because citrulline is not as bioavailable if you take it as a supplement because of the way it is metabolized. It is metabolized in what they call the first pass metabolism, which means it has to go through the liver. L-citrulline does not go through the liver and goes straight in, so you get more L-arginine and bioavailable L-arginine, which eventually becomes nitric oxide. So I know it's a little technical, but the bottom line is citrulline. If you're trying to take supplements, don't take the L-arginine supplement. Take the citrulline supplement.
Okay. So
So
let's be clear. So yellow watermelon has more citrulline. Is that what it's
yes,
called?
4 times more,
Than
which
the
means
red.
you're going to get an improved blood flow.
Right. But to your point, that is harder to find sometimes in the grocery store. But although I've heard in certain areas of the country, it's all over the place. One of my friends from Georgia says she sees yellow watermelon all the time. Because I actually saw it for the first time last year. That's why this is ironic. I saw it for the first time last year and finally tried it. I had no idea of the benefits we're talking about. So hopefully I see it again this year. But you're saying that that has 4 times more, but if you don't see the yellow watermelon, then to take a citrulline supplement versus another kind of supplement. Is that what you're saying?
If you need it. Now,
Okay.
red watermelon has citrulline. It
Right.
just doesn't have as much as yellow. You
Okay.
may be able to get away with it without it. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you really need that boost, that real pump, then you can buy the supplement. If you
Okay.
really need that pump. But red
Okay.
watermelon is still a superfood because of the next thing we're going to talk about is the lycopene. The
All right, but
red,
before you go there, I know that in the study regarding the muscle soreness, they said that it actually performs even better than an NSAID, like an ibuprofen,
yeah,
and you don't have the side effects of the ibuprofen, like you have with the ibuprofen. So
right, it's the
once again,
non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, which is I always mess it up. Ibuprofen.
yeah,
So it's non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and which can cause gastrointestinal bleeding and leaky gut.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's
So
once again better to take the food.
right, absolutely,
But go ahead.
absolutely. Okay, so the other thing is the lycopene, the red. As we have already said, that the antioxidants are in the pigment. So red watermelon is better for you if you want something to basically deal with cancer. Now it does not have nearly as much lycopene as the tomatoes and tomato paste that we talked about in a previous podcast. But when you look at the total food, when you look at all of those benefits to it, it's just worth eating. So it just becomes an accumulative effect because lycopene doesn't leave your body, by the way, like other nutrients. It builds up. So by eating that watermelon, by eating that tomato paste, you're building up lycopene. Okay,
Right.
so watermelon becomes this additional source of lycopene. We still strongly recommend that you do your tomato paste every day. But that lycopene, because lycopene is good for cancer big time, especially prostate cancer, breast cancer, and all of the major cancers. Lycopene is an elixir.
Great. Which is good news because I mean watermelon is a great meal when it comes to a breakfast. You can put it in your smoothie. I've even, I'm not a big sweets person. Uh Sometimes, I'll say, but for the most part, I know for me, often during when it's in season, I'll have watermelon as my dessert, so that's a tip for people, uh, watching, like, if you have to figure out what how often you can have watermelon, you can almost have it as your daily dessert, so you can get that daily lycopene.
Your Aunt Ruby used to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh,
God,
that
she
she
loves a
had
watermelon. Oh my
tons of
God.
lycopene in her body.
She loves a watermelon. But watermelon is a good top a topping.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, it's this elixir. That's why some people think it's a superfood because of all of the nutrients that are in it. And because of the cumulative effect of some of those nutrients, it just becomes something additive to your diet. Okay. Um,
Yes.
it's good for your eyes.
Yes.
It's good for your
Which I
brain.
didn't which I did not know that. I did not know it was good for the eyes.
Right, because of the lutein and zeaxanthin and the vitamin A and the beta carotene.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so lutein and zeaxanthin not only good for your eyes, but it also goes all the way down into your brain. So now you're talking about something that's going to help you with brain health.
Mm.
I mean, that's when you look at that full list of things, it's amazing. And
The
so now I know
list
why my aunt Ruth kicked it to 93. I mean,
but the thing with watermelon though, for me, with watermelon though, like I just said, even though you see it sold in the grocery store all year round, it tends to not taste good until the summer months, right? So
yeah,
when should
yeah,
we eat this? When should we eat watermelon? Should we eat it during the winter months?
of course.
You would
You
still
can eat it
eat
anytime you can
watermelon.
get it.
You would eat watermelon even though it's not tasting right.
Yeah,
In
I
the winter.
understand that. I mean, look, I'm gonna get up. I want the nutrients. I'm a science guy, so I want the nutrients.
So in other
Um,
words, you would probably I guess now that I think about it, to your point, like you may not eat it as that side dish or pretty much eat it alone, like as a dessert, but maybe you would add it to your smoothie with other
oh,
fruits and
absolutely.
stuff like
Let me
that.
give you
Okay.
an example.
During the
For
winter.
an antioxidant, heart health, healthy, cooler smoothie, I will put red watermelon because I want that antioxidant. I want that lycopene. I put some arugula, which is also good for nitric oxide, builds up that blood flow. Then I put a dash of black pepper and a small teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. Why? Because I want to enhance the absorption of the lycopene. And I put in some hibiscus tea and unsweetened maybe soy milk to give me a little bit more protein. And then maybe throw in some beans like a natto bean or edamame beans. And I
And this is a
blend it.
smoothie? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I blend it.
All right. Yeah.
Now even during the off months for watermelon in terms of taste, but you're still getting the health benefits of it.
Yeah, that's in
So
essence what I'm saying, yeah. In other words, when it's the off seasons, put it in your smoothie because then you're not
put it in
necessarily
your
worried
smoothies.
about, yeah, the taste of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in your smoothies. I mean, if you, I mean, if you're a watermelon connoisseur, you're gonna be able to tell the difference between the summer and the winter, but that's fine. But what you want is the health benefits. The bottom line is get the health benefits out of it. Now, when I do a pre-workout meal, I'm gonna do the yellow watermelon if I can find it, with some arugula and hibiscus tea and some soy milk, and maybe some edamame beans. I did that here recently. I just did a pre-workout with some red watermelon, and I could tell the difference. You could tell that I had some watermelon and some arugula and some hibiscus tea and a little bit of soy milk, and I blended that together and I drank it.
Let's get deeper into that blood circulation and nitric oxide. As I said, it could help couples out here. So, but let's talk more about that.
Yeah, well, the citrulline, as I said, is a precursor to L-arginine, which produces nitric oxide, which improves blood flow. And what they found was that people who were eating, especially yellow watermelon, but you still get the same effect with red watermelon because of the amino acid. There was a 68% increase in monthly intimacy and fewer side effects than with Viagra. In other words, it's going to help you with your blood flow,
It helps with that ED,
with the ED. A
which by the way,
68% increase. That's amazing.
they say ED is an indication, and we I believe we said this on a previous podcast. Like, some people are embarrassed by it, and it can be a funny subject online, but it actually could be an indication of something quite serious, meaning you may have some cardiovascular issues. Again, we're talking about blood circulation. Your blood circulation, yes, we want it for those intimate moments to be working well, but overall, it's really also about your heart health.
Yes, because Viagra initially was for cardiovascular problems
Right.
until they saw the side effect. And then all of a sudden they flipped the script and started selling it as something for ED.
Mm.
So that's the same concept. That's the citrulline that converts to L-arginine and then eventually nitric oxide, and increasing nitric oxide is increasing blood flow. I'm with my as I said, I'm adding arugula to my watermelon to get even more nitric oxide. Who knows? That 68% may go up even further.
Oh my goodness. Well, hey, I mean, but this is important. I mean, for men to know because that really is an issue for men of a certain age and maybe even a younger age. I mean, it's just it's an issue that men don't necessarily always want to talk about. And who knew that? Or many may not realize it. It may have a lot to do with your diet. And here's a fruit that's quite common, and you can see it. You see it all the time at the grocery store. That and it's fairly affordable. That's something you can get to help. So get it.
Absolutely. But like you said, you got to make sure you're not eating a whole bunch of saturated fat and clogging up your arteries. That's why I came up with my uh, pre-workout meal, which was um, my antioxidant and heart health cooler, which is the red watermelon, arugula, a dash of black pepper, and a teaspoon of EVO, so that you can absorb the lycopene, hibiscus tea, unsweetened soy milk. But I also added some natto beans, which is the fermented soybeans, and blend that together, because what you want to do is make sure your arteries are clean. Imagine how you clean out your arteries with the natto beans, and you're expanding your blood flow with the watermelon and the arugula. How about that?
Yes, but does it taste good? No,
Yes, of course. When the watermelons, it has a sweetness to it.
well, yeah, the watermelon does, but does it have enough sweetness? Based
You
on
want, you add more watermelon.
or add some
You add
dates
enough watermelon to make it sweet.
or add some dates.
Oh yeah, you can add some dates,
Yeah.
but I think that's enough.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just tried some of this, by the way. It
I
tastes pretty
know.
good.
Okay. Okay. I mean, Okay, okay. Just some people may be like, "What kind of smoothie is that?" But look,
It's a pre-workout drink. It's not so much a smoothie, it's a pre-workout drink.
a
I mean, athletes
pre-workout
drink
drink. Okay,
pre-workout drinks all the time, but that
very true.
that's a combination of a pre-workout drink as well as a heart healthy drink.
That's very true. So in other words, yeah, yeah, you're right about that. And those protein powder drinks that a lot of athletes do consume, they don't necessarily taste all that good either.
No, they don't.
So,
They really don't.
so
I mean, if you just want straight uh I mean, if you just want the straight nitric oxide and the blood flow, then you use your yellow watermelon, arugula, and hibiscus tea. Period. If that's all you want, okay,
but
you're
actually,
gonna really get that boost in terms of nitric oxide and blood flow.
right. No, this could taste good. It'll do. I will say I have been enjoying the hibiscus tea based smoothies. Like if
Yeah.
because some people don't like milk-based smoothies. Um, so if you ever just want like kind of a refreshing, kind of icy tasting kind of smoothie, that hibiscus as your base tastes really good and you're getting a ton of
Right, and it's high
benefits.
in antioxidant. That's what makes that antioxidant heart healthy cooler with the red watermelon, arugula, a dash of black pepper, and EBOO and hibiscus tea so powerful because you got the hibiscus tea is the highest antioxidant beverage.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Well, I feel we have convinced people to get their watermelon. Any other closing remarks you want to make?
Oh, based on this research, I had to up my game on watermelon.
I see.
I, I was, I'll definitely be doing pre-workout with watermelon. No
I mean,
pun intended.
you were already blending up your grapefruit juice, so now I'm gonna see blended up watermelon juice.
That's true.
But a lot of that I've seen people do actually just in general. I mean, watermelon is actually quite a popular fruit. So
It is. I mean, you see watermelon coolers and drinks all the time. So
right.
it's like you said, it's got all of these nutrients in it and amino acids. And good news, like I said, with the lycopene, it's cumulative. So it builds up in your system.
Yes. All right, so let's do a little quick summary. It's a superfood. As my dad said, has these tons of antioxidants, particularly lycopene. It has other things. What is it? Magnesium, beta
Right.
carotene,
Beta
vitamin.
carotene,
Yes,
L-arginine, I mean, excuse me, citrulline, of course, uh, and it has lutein and zeaxanthin, which is good for your eyes.
right. So
Good
vitamin
vitamin
C,
A
and it has vitamin
and
C,
vitamin C.
and it will help. As we've run it to the ground pretty much, but it definitely helps with soreness. It's good for pre-workout. Um, and like we said, it helps couples in the bedroom. We'll just say it that way. But overall, like I said, it just, you know, we're it sells to talk about, like I said, the bedroom situation. But really, again, all of that is an indication of your heart health. So to really put it, just wrap this all up in a bow, it's really about watermelon helps your heart health. It helps your blood circulation. Period.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
how you wanna look
And
at it.
that's the number one cause of death. It's cardiovascular disease. So
Absolutely.
eat your watermelon.
Yes. All right, y'all. So that's our show for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and to share. Share with your friends, share with your family. Because look, we're all here trying to live better, eat better, and just age gracefully, right? So hopefully we have informed you well today regarding watermelon. We'll check you out next time. Peace.